Now I'll start recording it. Let's get this class started. Today we are going to be focusing on the skull, if you could not tell by my intro. We're going to be working on the skull. All right. All right. So can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me? Let me get a check.
Yes to both.
Okay,
Good.
awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. So, today we are going to talk about the skull and how it relates to character sculpting and how it can help you guys be better at sculpting in general. All right. So let us begin our presentation today. Before I do that, let me do a little housekeeping. Make sure that you guys have you've signed the attendance sheet so I can mark you guys as present. Also, let me go through your threads one more again. All right. Can we get an update? All right. Cool. All right. Cool. Cool. I saw that. All right. Interesting. All right. The more we do, the better we'll get at them, and hopefully, what we're gonna do today will help some of these. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. Let's do update. Cool. Scene. 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 Okay, you did a different version. Okay, cool. Cool. I see what you're going for. Alright, hopefully this class will help. Alright, a lot of these I've seen. I don't think I'm missing any. Alright, cool, cool, cool. I have kind of, that's good. Hopefully what we do today will kind of help you guys. Let's see. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the anatomy of the skull as it relates to sculpting. Alright, so let us begin. Can you guys see uh, the PowerPoint presentation?
Yep.
Awesome, awesome,
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
All right. So understanding the human skull for sculpting is very very important. Very important. Um, when sculpting a skull in ZBrush, it's essential to understand its underlying structure, proportions, and forms to create realistic or stylized characters. The skull dictates the overall shape of the head and serves as the foundation for facial features. Let's break it down into key sculpting considerations. All right. So,
Professor,
yes.
is there a way the OBS looks like the OBS is like taking up a lot of the screen? Is there a way to?
Oh, is it? Let me see if I can fix that. Let's go to something.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Wait, is it better now?
Actually, it's still there.
It's still there? Okay, let me see. There should be a way where I can go into like presenting mode.
Is it with the Discord?
Yeah, maybe it's in Discord. Okay, share. Let me actually change the window to this one. Alright, is this better?
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Alright, so let me make sure you guys are seeing that again. Anatomy of the head, understanding the skull for sculpting. Alright. So generally, this is what you guys are going to notice about our skull. It's essentially, there's really two major parts to it, right? There's this big part right here, which is usually referred to as the brain case, right? And then the rest of it houses the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and all that, the mandible and things like that. So that's usually how when artists think about the proportions of the head, that's how they think about it. All right. So let's talk about understanding the major forms of the skull, like I was just kind of briefing you guys on. The human skull can be simplified into two major sections, right? The cranium, right, or the neurocranium, the round protective housing for the brain, usually known as the brain case, right? It's a funny name. It's where your brain goes. And then the facial skeleton. The framework for the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the jaw. So that's how our head is usually formed. There's this giant part that holds our brain, and then the rest of it kind of holds our face and everything else, the pretty bits, right? So primarily sculpting the shapes in ZBrush. So the crane is usually a modified type of a sphere, and then the jaw and facial structure are built from boxy or wedge-like forms. The cheekbones, the brow ridge, right? This is the brow ridge right here, and the jawline, right? Add angular planes to define the face. So whenever you're starting off, these are the things you're thinking about. All right, where's my brow line, right? You're creating the basic shape. Where's my jawline, right? And how do these things interact? And when you look at this diagram, you guys want to start thinking about adding this to your repertoire of knowledge, right? When it comes to newborn babies, if you're, sculpting 80% of them, right, is the cranium, right? 20% is the facial skeleton. When it comes to a child, right, you're dealing with more cranium, right? And your face is starting to develop. You're growing up. Your teeth are starting to form more. You're getting your permanents, your molars. Your facial features are starting to get a little more defined. And as you get into adulthood, sorry, your skull is about 60% compared to your face, which is about 40% the proportion of your face, because now you're fully developed. Your face is, this is if you haven't had any kind of surgery or anything, naturally. So that's how our face is, usually structured. All right. So what we can also do is split the skull into 4 additional parts that help define some of these landmarks whenever it comes to sculpting. So in the front view, though, we've got the top of the cranium, right? The widest point of the skull, right? Whenever we're doing that circle, you always notice you'll use the move tool. You'll pull this out a little bit. You'll push this in a little bit. You'll push that, you're forming, right, the widest point of the skull, right? The top of the nasal aperture, right? The top of the nasal bone. If we go to the side, you're going right here, right? And then the start of the upper teeth, right here, is the other landmark. And then the bottom of the chin, all right? And these are not hard and fast rules. Let me say this again. These aren't hard, and these are very general parameters. These are general parameters for how you guys should take on the skull, because we're all different, right? Our the shape of our heads is different. The shapes of our eyes are different. The shape, everything falls the way my chin, right? Like some people's chins are a little more pointy. Some people have the very chiseled square chin. Females have softer chins, right? So you have to look at it different. But these are just general parameters that you guys can follow. All right. So the key skull landmarks, right? We're gonna look at the frontal bone, right? That's the forehead, right? And it extends to the brow ridge, right? The eyebrow area, right here. All right. So that's when I say, hey, the frontal bone, right? This is what I'm talking about. And when you guys are doing this for me, right? Because today's class assignment is going to be to sculpt the skull, right? You're going to gather a bunch of reference, and then you're going to just kind of try to sculpt your own skull to kind of understand this a little better, right? Whenever we go over this, I want you to go over it, read it, understand it, and then try it yourself, right? The first time, it might be ugly. It might be, it's okay. You're learning. The most learning you're gonna do when it comes to sculpting, guys, is gonna be from phase 0 to phase 3 of the sculpting process. Phase 4, phase 5, whenever you're refining the details, you're adding that stuff, it's easy. That's the easy stuff, right? The learning aspect of this stuff for you guys is going to be learning all of these landmarks, learning how they relate to the face, learning their correspondence to each other, and things like that. All right. So the forehead is slightly rounded and not flat. People always think the forehead is flat and they make it this little plane. It's a little bit rounded. So you want to be careful with that. All right. So the parietal bone is the large, smooth sides of the skull. This area is slightly curved as well, right? Forming the dome of the skull, right? I'm talking about, this is your parietal bone right here, all right? And what it's doing is it's making your head round. I'm sorry if you have a square head. This message isn't for you then if you have a square head. But what makes it your head round is your parietal bone right there. It's rounding it out. All right. So you also have the temporal bone, right, which is located on the sides near the ears, housing the jaw joints. Right. Here's a sculpting tip for you guys. The zygomatic arch connects the cheekbone to the ear area. All right. So when they say the zygomatic, this is the right here. That is the zygomatic arch right there. All right. This is your cheekbone. All right. This bone right here, it usually falls somewhere right in between the ear, and the jaw. All right. So here's your zygomatic bone. And then we've got the nasal bone, which forms the bridge of the nose, right? And some people's are point, depending on, race, ethnicity, gender, it will change and it does get different. So I want to show you guys these things so you know the markers you're looking for, but realize that each individual person has unique characteristics that make theirs different. All right. And then you also have the orbital bones, which are the eye sockets. All right. They house the eyeballs and provide depth to the face. Sculpting tip: the eye sockets tilt slightly backwards, right? Avoid making them too flat. You guys see this, right? I don't know if I can zoom in. Here we go. I zoomed in for myself. Right here, boom. You see that it kind of slightly goes back in, right? And then your eyeball fits right in there nice and comfortably, right? So it doesn't, kind of stays in there. You don't want it to jiggle around in your skull or anything, but, it's got a nice little home in there for you. And you can see where this nasal bone right here meets, and then your nasal cavity goes down to your maxilla bone right here, which is your upper jawbone, right? Then we've got our mandible, which is our jawbone that fits right under our zygomatic arch, right? Remember, the parietal bone is here. We've got our sphenoid bone here, which is it's kind of like this flat surface area that goes right under the zygomatic arch. Because if you see, usually our zygomatic arch kind of has a little wing to it, right? I always kind of do it like a little wing, and then I kind of swoop in and kind of bring it back, cut it back into the maxilla bone, and then that's without the teeth though, right? Because sometimes what I used to do when I was first starting is I wouldn't account for the fact that, oh, I gotta add teeth to it, so I just got this character with giant gums. You know what I'm saying? So you have to remember that when it says it stops at the bottom of the jaw, or at the start of the upper teeth, right? Like this is what I'm talking about. This is the stop. I used to make the mistake and pull it all the way here, so I got gums, and then I gotta go back and pull this back up to add my teeth to it. So don't make that mistake. The landmarks you want to be cognizant of are bottom of the chin, start of the upper teeth, top of the nasal aperture, right? And this usually lines up with the center of the eye. Remember that, right? These little nuggets will make you better a little faster, all right? So then the next is the widest point of the skull, and then the top of the cranium, depending on if your head is square, flat, round, somebody done beat you over the head with a lot, something. It's going to be a little different, but these are the landmarks you're looking for in people to put into your sculpt so that you get a much more accurate representation, right? And when I'm this is what I'm talking about when I say depending on the race, ethnicity, gender, right? When it comes to East Asian landmarkers, right, you can see how the nasal bone right here kind of curves a little bit, and it's a little less slanted, and so the nose kind of falls that way, right? With Northern European noses, right, the nasal bone kind of points out a little more forward, giving that nose that pointy, that more pointy shape. Even Australian indigenous, the Aborigines, right, they have more of this kind of inset from their brow ridge, right, to their nasal bone, and that gives them kind of more of a pug nose, similar to an African kind of nose, right? And that'll also show itself in the profile, right? Because what happens is, because of this point, right, it also usually determines how wide this nasal cavity is, right? Depending on how wide that nasal cavity is depending on how wide your your nose is. So these are things that we are looking for. These are the landmarks that we're looking for in when we're modeling. All right. So speaking more on that zygomatic arch, right? With our zygomatic arch is very important, right? We've got our brain case and our frontal bone right here, right? And this muscle right here is what connects, right? And allows our jaw to kind of hinge back and forth. And that's what allows our jaw to hinge and allows us to talk. And there's this little cavity. There's this little space right here. The muscle fits right over here and then just kind of connects to our jaw like somebody roped it together, right? And that allows us, right? That allows us this motion of, you can probably, if you feel your zygomatic arch, right? You can feel this muscle, but right under that muscle is where this temporalis muscle is. It helps us close the mouth and keep it shut, right? All right, and I've showed you guys this already a little bit, but these are some of the changes that happen to us over time since from when we're a baby. It's a magical experience if you guys haven't noticed. We start off looking like this, alienoid kind of thing, and we kind of end up that way, right? you start this way, you kind of end up a bigger form of that. So enjoy this, right? Make this very, very, very fun. This period of your life, because you're not doing nothing here, and you're done doing whatever you're trying to do here. All right. So you gotta, remember that our skulls are so much cranium when we're little. And as we grow older, our face forms. It's always interesting to watch my daughter, because, like, from when she was a baby to now, like, her facial structure has changed so much. And I can only imagine what she's going to look like when she's 35. And there's all these little weirdo AI apps that, like, tries to tell you what they're going to look like. I don't believe it, but it's very interesting to kind of see the progression of how we look and what our facial structure does. You can see that our jaw line just kind of lengthens and kind of drops down, right? And as we get even older, it's crazy, because then we start losing bone mass, we start losing bone density, you start losing your teeth. So the jaw that you worked all these years to, it all goes back to where it was. So it's a very interesting process. It's a very, very interesting thing that happens. All right. So here's another thing that I want you guys to kind of keep in mind with the mouth, right? It's a curve, right? It's a curve. A lot of times, in last class I kept saying an orange. Imagine like an orange shape. Right there. It's a round shape. The problem a lot of times that I see students do is they do make it kind of flat. It's not a flat shape, and the lips aren't round. The mouth shape is round, right? Because you might hear that and think, okay, I'm gonna just round out the lips. Your model's gonna look weird. You need to round out the mouth. Imagine there's like an orange stuck to it, right? And that's how you kind of approach it, all right? So when approaching the proportions and planes of a skull, you got to keep in mind these basic kind of principles. The head is roughly 5 eyes wide, right? Like the head is usually like the widest point is usually 5 eyes wide, and usually comic book artists kind of, made this kind of a mainstay for archetypes for like heroes and things. You guys have probably heard of like this character is 7 heads tall, 8 heads tall. The average human is 6.5 heads tall, right? These are markers that artists use to kind of generalize, right? If you think of a character that's 7 heads tall, that's usually a hero character. For most like behemoth berserker character, they're 8.5 to 9 heads tall. The average human, about 6.5 heads tall. So these markers help artists as like quick reference guides to know, all right, boom, boom, boom. I can, if you grab, if you'll get to the point where you can just go, all right, boom, I'm going to use my hand. You can even use that to measure the proportions. But to get there, you guys have to understand the basics of this, right? The eyes sit in the middle of the skull when viewed from the front, all right? The bottom of the nose aligns, right, with the lower ear's edge, right? So the bottom of your nose, you guys can trace it. It usually lands pretty much where your ear ends, right? The lower part of your ear, that part where it connects. So remember that. Keep these in mind. So whenever you're sculpting something and it's almost like you're auto correcting yourself as you're sculpting. It's a weird thing because you're like, oh damn, I did that, like, and then you see, you're like, oh okay, obviously, boom, and then I gotta move this or push that. It's a push and pull. You learn this information, study it, use it, and then you're gonna keep getting better at it. All right. So another thing is the jawline extends just past the ear. All right. The jawline extends just past the ear. Your jawline right here only goes so far past your ear. So keep these in mind. All right. So the planes of the skull for sculpting. The forehead has a slight curve, but the brow ridge is more defined. All right. So your forehead, some people have a 5 head. It's okay. We don't judge here. We're an equal opportunity forehead class. All right. Some people's foreheads are a little bigger than others. Some people's hairline go back a little further than others, right? You got to keep things like that in mind. But usually it's got a slight curve to it. You can feel yours. You can feel that it's not like a flat piece of paper. It's got a, unless somebody, I don't know, somebody bunked you or something with something or flattened you. There's no way. It's usually round. And then you have your feel your eyebrow ridge, right? It because of how it sinks in, you usually have more of a defined transition from like your eyebrow ridge to your nasal bone, all right? So the draw transition from a broad to square structure to a narrow chin, all right? So your jaw, boom, transition, boom, to your narrow chin, all right? It can transfer from sharp to long and broad, then to sharp again, all right? So a sculpting tip is to use the Damien standard brush, which I've showed you, to define the major planes of the major plane changes, and the move brush to adjust the proportions dynamically, which is something you guys have been doing and you guys are familiar with now, is just grabbing that, grabbing it and using it, all right? So now what we're going to do is get into ZBrush, kind of start and try to start making some of these shapes, all right? So I'm going to try to go through and show you guys. So for your assignment, essentially, this is what you guys are going to do for me. All right. Boom, boom, boom. It might not be as refined as this, but if you get the boom, we're cool. All right. So you want to go through and refine the shape until you get something decent. Right. What we're going to do is, let me give you guys some common mistakes to avoid. All right. Don't over round the skull. Remember that the skull is not a perfect square. Use planar surfaces. All right. It's not perfectly round. We're not basketballs. All right. It has, different planes to it based on how you're, all the markers we've talked about. All right. Another thing is misplacing your eye sockets. They tilt slightly backward, right? Remember, your eye socket tilts slightly backward, not forward, all right? And overextending the jawline. These are things we've talked about. The mandible tucks in and not straight out, and not straight down, all right? So here's your mandible, right? Your jawbone. It tucks right in there, all right? And remember, don't ignore an asymmetry. No skull is 100% symmetrical in real life. For our purposes, your skulls are going to be 100% symmetrical. It's going to be easier for you. If at the end you want to throw some asymmetry into it to give it a little flair, kudos to you. But yours can be symmetrical for learning purposes. All right. Use Dynamesh early on the blocking forms. Switch to ZRemesher for cleaner topology when refining, and use reference images for different angles to check proportions. Adjust perspective settings in ZBrush to match real-world proportions. Take breaks and flip the model to spot mistakes. All right. So that is pretty much it for the lecture aspect of it. Now we're going to jump right into ZBrush. All right. So to apply some of those principles that we have just learned, right, into sculpting our skull. All right. Does anybody have any questions for me so far? Are you guys understanding it, getting it? I know I move a little fast, but I don't want anybody left behind.
So my question is, we're doing 3 skulls in ZBrush
Yes.
in the same file.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. And I'm I'm gonna append a sphere so that all right, so just to show you guys what I'm talking about for you guys to do, today's classwork is going to be to take the information that you've learned here today, right, and then go apply it, right? Go gather a bunch of references, right? The first thing you should do is go on Skull Real Images, right? And go find references of skulls. Gather a bunch of them from different angles, right? From different angles, put them together and use that to sculpt a skull. And that's, you know, the best thing you can do for yourself is to gather a bunch of references. So even this one right here, I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste it into our resources, actually, Anatomy for Sculptors, just so it's in here as well. All right, so now you guys know, you can't say you didn't have reference, all right? So go online, find different references, and yeah. Now let me append a sphere. I'm gonna go ahead. As you guys can see, there's a lot of pieces that make up the human body here. Right now it's on solo, but this is included in ZBrush, right? So you guys are more than, you know, welcome to pull it all, look at it, study it, right? Let's move this guy over here. Scale it down. I'm just removing, I'm hiding all this extra stuff I don't want to see. All the musculature, fat, different things like that. Subadipose tissue, things like that, you know. And the thing is, you don't have to learn the anatomy. You just need to learn the markers for where all of these muscles are. You need to learn, all right, this is how this works, this is how this connects, this is how does it hinge. You know, the thing is, we are very, very complex beings. We're very, very complex. Our, you know, our framework is very, very intricate. So, you know, the best that, you know, even some of the best and brightest artists, they've had to take it in very manageable chunks. You know, think about, you know, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, even they had to simplify it into, you know, all right, these are the basic shapes of this, you know. So don't think that you have to know every single muscle, every single tendon, every single artery, vein, you know, nervous system. No, you just need to know how the musculature relates to the bone, how it relates to what you're seeing on the surface, and how it affects what you are working on. All right? All right. So this is how you guys are gonna start it. You're gonna start with a sphere, and it's just your skull study. Usually, you know, you want to do one of these every once in a while, every couple of weeks, every couple of months, just to make sure you're brushing up on your anatomy. All right. So here's a basic workflow that you guys can follow. Right. You want to start with a sphere, and then you want to kind of just start. I'll go. Remember, I like to go B, M, V. Right. That's the move tool. Actually, let's scale this guy down a little bit. I'm going to use this as my guide. Oops. Scale it down. All right. All right. All right. Now if we draw again, now if I hit X, I've got my symmetry tool. Oops. Let's go. All right. Scale this down a little bit. This one, I don't have to fix the symmetry. Scale this. All right. Not solo this. Now we can draw. Boom. Just gonna start moving. Right? Jaw. Turn it around. Boom. Alright. Remember we talked about this is a little bit round. Alright, it's not some flat surface. Might pull these guys back a little bit. The cranium. Right, remember we got the cranium part. Right. Shift to smooth. This is our jaw. Right, might have a little bit. Boom. I'm gonna right there. Shift to smooth. Right, I'm just pushing and pulling. Right, pushing and pulling. Shift to smooth. Alright. All right, remember we got the widest part of the skull. All right, these are the markers we should be looking for. All right. So B, D, S. So this is the Damien standard brush, right? And you can use this to kind of, if you want, define some of your planes, all right? So if we want, we can, oops. We're gonna, boom. All right. So if you're looking, you want planes, right? The ridge of the eyebrow, right? The forehead, all right, and then oops. All right, and this is where you would have kind of your zygomatic arch. Then that goes down into your mandible like so. All right. Oops. So BFA, I think I'll use this to, I'm gonna use this to kind of do some BCB, oh, BCB. Boom. Alright, just start roughing stuff in. Nothing needs to be perfect right now. Alright. Alright, and remember, this is what I was talking about right here. This is the top of the jaw. Right? Right? It's the start right here of the upper teeth. Alright, that's what I meant to say. The start of the upper teeth. Alright, and then we've got our eye socket. Alright. And then on the flat sides, smooth it out a little bit. Oops. Reduce the intensity quite a bit. BCB, all right. All right, like that. All right, and I'm constantly looking at reference. Now BMV again. All right, now I'm gonna use my move tool. All right, I'm just switching back and forth from move tool to, oops. Actually go full screen, I think. Is my noteboard on? Okay. Alright. Move this a little more. Alright. BMV. Alright. Pull. Alright. BCB. Alright, now let's draw. There we go. Boom. BMV. This is that zygomatic arch. And if you guys notice, I have not gone up in subdivision or anything yet. You know, I'm just kind of, I'm going with whatever it is right now, because I do plan on subdividing at some point in time. But I want to just pull this guy as far as he can possibly go before I go to the next, before I go to the next subdivision. All right. I'm gonna increase the brush size a little bit. I'm just still pushing and pulling. All right. Let me shift a little bit just to smooth this out a little bit. All right, BMV. Once again, just massaging, using it to pull it out. BCB. Just gonna clean up some of this. All right. Deepen this a little bit. All right. Got a little ridge here. BMV. Move this guy out a little bit, because a lot of people think the orbital socket is very round. It's really more squarish, right? And remember that, like I said, it's got that tilt, right? I put that angle in there, right? So now you've got that tilt, and now we can worry about kind of the nasal bone right here, right? So remember, depending on what the ethnicity, is how the nasal bone will present itself. BCB. All right, and then shift smooth. All right, and I still haven't gone up in subdivision. Still not going up in subdivision. All right, I'm staying as low as possible. Staying real low. All right. PCB. Increase the size and bring back this other part of the jaw because it's like 201. All right. Then shift to smooth, and you guys can see I'm pulling this thing to where I'm it's going pretty far. All right. And remember, this tucks right under this. All right. Exaggerated so you guys can see it, but your jawbone is tucked right into it, and then that masseter muscle, right? That big muscle helps our jaw stay shut. All right, the muscle's right there, and then we've got some temporal muscles up here. I'm not gonna put those in. It's about our skull right now. So now I'm gonna just go ZBrush it again. Boom. All right. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. And all ZBrush is doing is kind of cleaning up that topology for me. All right. Our nasal cavity. All right. Alright. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, so this is where I would kind of go in and start to try. Remember, right? This is where gotta remember this is the BMV. Alright. Alright, remember. Okay. Yeah. I'm tucking a lot of this stuff in, pulling stuff out. All right, now I can BMV again. Let me go. I'm gonna pull this jaw down a little bit more. All right, a little bit more.
You're a monkey.
That's how we all started. All right. Alright, so there's a few ways that ZBrush this again. BCB. Alright. BFA. I'm gonna move this in a little bit. There we go. BCB, and then I'm just gonna start adding a little bit more of this. All right. There's some cool things about ZBrush too that make it super cool to use. So just trying to. So let me add another subtool to this to show you guys how I would approach. So there's a few different ways to approach teeth. If you wanted to, you could either append. Let's append. Let's append a cube. All right. So soloing this. Let's move this cube a little out here, like so. Scale it down. Let's move it over here again. Shift. Alright, oh, that's doing the smoothing it out. Alright. BMV. Let's move it. Just gonna grab it, scale it. Alright. draw again. Let's use the move tool. I'm just gonna move this guy like so. Kind of make it look a little teeth-like a little bit. Alright. Okay. Just gonna start moving it out of the way. And obviously when you guys do yours, you're gonna take a little more time than 10 minutes to do it, but you will have to do the same thing. Alright. And draw. Into okay, let me move. Let me scale this guy a little bit. Now let's get my tooth. Put my tooth in the mouth. Alright. Place it, and then let's do, oops. F. Let's zoom in on our tooth. No. There's an alt. There's something that lets me duplicate this guy.
You need to hold control when you hold it.
Okay, control it. Okay, also that was. All right, so you're obviously gonna, follow the jawline and structure a little more than I am, but rotate, place them in place. All right. They're on polygroups? No. All right, so I'm gonna auto polygroups so that I can individually kind of just move them. If you guys don't know what polygroups are, they are it's like putting them in their own element within ZBrush. So and then boop. Then you can do that for the individual teeth. Just kind of move them out. Move them anywhere you need it to put them. Let's go. Alright, let's go. I got it on transparent, so. Alright. Let's make this guy. So the cool thing about ZBrush is now that I've got like all these little teeth and stuff kind of placed how I want them, BCB. Like when I start to sculpt, it'll start to sculpt around my the objects I just added to it. So now if I want to, I can go in and start to add to my build capability. Just show you guys. BMV. Okay. Give him a little bit of kind of like, oh man, this guy's been in the sticks. But since I moved them, they've a little gotten out of place. Let's actually, let me move these guys forward a little bit. They're kind of back in there. God, this thing gets stuck every time. Let's move these guys a little forward too. Move them up a little bit. Move them out. Rotate them a little bit. Kind of zombie-ish. There we go. Alright. Alright, so now I'm just gonna go into, let's go BCB. Then just gonna actually, I don't have enough subdivisions, so I'm just going to my whoops, geometry, divide. Alright, just gonna kind of put a little bit of some boom, some muscle around there, just so it looks like it. So it looks like it fits. All right. There we go. You know, I'm gonna go 360 really to make sure, all right, everything is getting encompassed. Just sells it a little bit better. Just gonna sell it. I'm gonna sell that it's a part of this. Alright. Shift. Let's increase my shifts, my smoothing a little bit more. Alright. And you know, it looks like I'll put a lot of information and knock most of it back. Well, that's the purpose, you know. Everything's supposed to be subtle. You're not supposed to be beating me over the head with the information, you know. No, there we go. Kind of just want to make it look like these things have been here so long. Yeah, let's do that one more time. All right. So that is going to be you guys' assignment is to go make your own skull. Make a skull. Study a skull. Alright, and right now I don't have my symmetry on, so it's not just kind of sculpting. But does anybody have any questions for me as to what you guys are required to do tonight?
Hey,
Someone.
Professor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Oh, okay. Someone said we were supposed to make 3 skulls.
No, one.
Oh, 1. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And also, this is for assignment for week 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When's the due date for this one? Is it tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a question on assignment too, because I'm a bit confused. What type of shape? It says to create a simple 3D shape using basic sculpting tools. What, like any shape?
Yeah, like squares, triangles, pyramids. Yeah, I just wanted you guys to get familiar with like sculpting stuff, just building primitives.
Gotcha. So any shape is fine.
Any shape, just build a bunch of shapes, put it out there, get comfortable with it. That's pretty much it.
And we also have a quiz. Is that right?
Yes. It should. Your quizzes should be in Brightspace, so you should see them in there. You know.
And with what we've learned so far, are we good to start that?
Yeah. You guys should be able to ace those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was due today again? I'm sorry.
This what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just sculpt your skull, get you a bunch of good references, and make something cool. It doesn't have to be like it could be any kind of skull. Just make a skull. Make something happen. All right.
So just upload a screenshot of a basic shape.
Yes, sir. Basic shapes. Make a bunch of them. Make a bunch of shapes.
Basic shapes like in squares, cylinders, and.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
One other question. Can I still upload a bust?
Of course.
Okay.
Are the due dates on Brightspace different from what you're asking for, or?
No, the due dates on Brightspace are for the assignments on Brightspace. The only due date I give you for these are the ones I tell you about. And these are class ones.
So like when we have the discussions on the day, if we have that assignment, we have to turn it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy looks gnarly.
Wait, so if we do the skull today, should I turn in on week 3 or should I wait until I turn it in by the due date?
Nah, just turn it in. If you're done, turn it in. If you're done, turn it in.
Okay. And do it the same as like we did do the first one, work in progress and the name and sculpting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do we turn in the skull into Discord as well as Brightspace, or just Brightspace?
Just this skull you turn into just Discord. The other, if it's a drawing assignment, you turn into Brightspace as well. The stuff that I assign for you guys in class, like while I'm working, you don't need to turn it on Brightspace. I go through your threads and I make sure that it's there. on what day you posted it.
You said we need to have the image in Photoshop in order to have the images. You said something of a free website version of Photoshop in case we don't have it.
Yeah. It's called Photopea. I posted it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
And it's in resources as well. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
I'm sorry. Are we free to leave?
Yeah, you guys are free to leave whenever you're ready. I'm just kind of working this thing over a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, post your skulls, post whatever you worked on. I'd love to see it. You know, it's always fun to see how people interpret some of this stuff. You know. So yeah, let's get it in. And you've got that little. They usually BDS.
Thank you.
No worries. You guys are free to stick around. I'm gonna be here for like another 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna bounce myself. I just wanted to kind of go over this stuff with you guys.
So, Professor, just a quick question about the classes. What would you say between the Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday class is the most important to attend? Or is it just like
single one of them? Every
single one of them?
I'm just messing with you, man. The most important ones are probably Monday. I want to say Mondays, Thursdays. Because Tuesdays, if you watch what we did on Monday, you can turn that in Wednesday, come for Thursday, and still be caught up.
Okay. Yeah. I was just asking because I gotta refix my work schedule and see which days I can be available for this class. So.
Okay. No worries, man. No worries.
Appreciate that. All right. I'll talk to y'all next week then.
All righty, brother. Have a good one.
You too.
Anybody else got any questions for me?
I'm a little confused with the due dates for all the assignments, but I think I will better message you.
Okay.
I can get that sorted out.
No worries.
So besides the bus that we need to turn into Discord and this skull, is there anything else we need to turn in?
You need to do your quizzes.
Okay, quizzes.
Yeah, if you haven't done your quizzes, go on Brightspace and get your quizzes done.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me attack these bottom right teeth.
I had a question. I was wondering, when will this video be like uploaded for us to like review and use?
The moment I finish with it, it's gonna go back. It's gonna go online. It's gonna go on YouTube.
Another thing, the presentation is it available somewhere in the server, or are you gonna upload it? Or?
I'm gonna upload the presentation.
Where is it again?
I'm gonna upload it here, and I'm gonna throw it into on Brightspace as well for you guys. I'm gonna
okay.
Whenever I don't, are you guys getting my emails after class? You're not getting my emails, huh?
I don't know.
So if you look at your school email, every single day after class, I post what we talked about. Like I give you guys a breakdown. I email you guys the link to the YouTube where you can find the video for the class, and I even give you the class notes.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I get that.
Okay,
I was
cool.
Yeah, it's on Brightspace.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, let me do the poly groups again because I think I'm dealing with a bunch of. group. Okay. Control N. Ridiculous. Now move these in place. Alright. That's the cool thing about ZBrush is once you start learning all this stuff, it's just like it's like playing in a little sandbox, you know? You're just moving stuff around, you're pushing, you're pulling verts, and you know, before you know, you got something cool. Just gonna start jamming. We're jamming in this thing. Get you next, Mr. Floating Teeth. Okay, W, let's move you back a little bit. So now, if I want to, I can scale this one up. Maybe give him kind of like a snaggle tooth kind of vibe. Spin it out a little bit. There we go. Alright, what I might do is nope, no, don't switch. Don't switch. Actually draw. Control N. F. I don't know what just happened. BCP, and just kind of smooth it out. Maybe even kind of destroy it a little bit. And then I build it around it. Alright, you guys can see the process. It's just like going back and forth with the model, with the pieces that you have in there. Alright, and then I can just start boom, 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 boom. Alright, then I'm gonna do the opposite here to give me the opposite effect there. And then I can just go back over it. Smooth, 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 smooth. Alright. You want it there, but you don't want it there. Right? The thing about art, it's all about subtlety. You know, it's all about subtlety. I don't want to beat you over the head with information. I want you to kind of hint at it yourself. I want you to get to that conclusion. I want to give you playful hints of, oh, this is this, this is this, this is that, this is going here, this is, you know, leading here, and then let the viewers, you know, imagine the rest. So I want to give them as much as I possibly can. Alright. Make it super subtle. Super, super subtle. None of this stuff is ever so pronounced. Alright. Obviously, this is much more of like a Cro-Magnon kind of ape-like skull. You know? So, something like this is always cool. Looks like he would probably eat whatever that lady was. Eat that lady for breakfast. So let's mess with the other teeth. Alright. Just kind of ruin them a little bit. Right, with the Damien standard. Just kind of. Alright. Alright.
is the school we making? Can it be stylized like
It
you?
could be a stylized skull, but it just needs to have all the features and stuff in there.
Okay.
You know, nasal cavity. It needs to be at least humanoid. You know, I don't want a cat skull. Okay, so you know, something like this, and if you choose, let me go subtool. No, not subtool. Goofball. Let's go up one more in subdivision. Right now, all that stuff is smoothed out. I'm gonna show you guys a cool trick. Let's go surface, light box noisemaker. And this is always cool to add like a little bit of like noise, a little roughness, you know, a little, you know. It's I'm gonna go maybe. Here we go. And this is, you know, this is something that you do when you're finished. This isn't your first, you go and make the noisemaker button. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go in after you've done everything you needed to do. You know, let's frame it. All right, I want to frame it and then reduce the strength. This is something that's supposed to be super subtle. Super subtle. 0.012. Reduce that noise scale quite a bit. All right. Okay. All right. So now we're getting a little more of that weird, you know, that surface kind of pitting. All right. Or we can do something like this. All right. Then reduce. Yeah, some of these are a little weird. There's one that is like, there's like a bone one. I want to say there's one that's supposed to mimic bone. But this is all stuff that you do at the end. Not, you know, nothing. Oh, I think I made this one for something. Let's see if I can edit it. This is like one of the ones I made a long time ago. Reduce the strength of it. Here we go. Something like that. Alright, you can kind of see it, but not. Alright, let's remove a light box. And now if we want, right, remember whenever you're going to render these, this is how I want it to kind of look. Let's go here, render, and then we're going to do the BPR. Render, which one? Let's see, render passes, and let's do a BPR render pass. Alright, so we can do that. And then we can go into the render and then save out the composite of our render. BPR composite underscore front. Excuse me, once again, sorry about that. Let's go. Let's make sure this guy. and then render, and then you can do this one as well from this angle, and then render, grab this, save, okay, and then that is what you will post on your chats. All right, does anybody have any questions for me?
Regarding assignment 2, you said just a simple shape. So far, like, do you want like certain alpha or anything, or just gonna be randomized?
What was that?
Like on the, you said you wanted like brush strokes and like understanding the stuff on assignment 2.
Mm-hmm.
So just one shape that you just wanted one shape.
No, just do like 3, 4, 5 shapes. Just make an array of shapes. I just want you guys to go through making all the primitives that you can make inside of ZBrush, so you guys know what they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
For some reason it's not letting me, so I'm going to, I don't know, if you guys don't have Photoshop, this might be a little harder for you to do, but if you don't have Photoshop, remember there is Photo P. It's free of charge, and you can do the same basic editing within there that you can do in here. All right, so let's do new 1920 by 1080, Control V, and then if your stuff really isn't working, you can just do this, boom, like so. All right, boom, just render, BPR composite, Alt print screen. I'm gonna go back in here. V is the selection. Select my canvas. Control V, paste. Select this guy. Boom. Marquee. Select them out. Boom, like so. All right. So now I've got a front view, a 3/4, and all I want now is a side view. All right. So now with my side view, let me go to my subtool so I can hide this skeleton. All right. Let's go BPR. And then now I can go render. Actually, oops. Render, BPR, Alt print screen, Control V, right? Boom. Mask it out. Just gonna apply the mask. V for my selection. So now I do have all of them on one sheet. Right? And if I want, let me align them together like so. My background is still white, so I need to hit G on my keyboard, Alt, select my gray color for my background, boom, drop that in there, and now I've got my skull study. All right, I'm gonna write that there, skull study, and then Control A, the color is still set to the color of the boom, and then I will, this doesn't look like it's lined up very well. Let me see if I can distribute them a little better. Oh, no. And you can flip these around. You can put this one in the center. You can put, that's up to you. That's your, but what I do need from you, right, is, remember, boom, Please, no fancy fonts like you see me using here. Please, none of this fancy nonsense. Use just a regular font. Regular font, please. All right, and I've already gone over this, so you know. Character sculpting. All right. Move this up a little bit. Boom, skull study. Change this to boom. And then I'm going to post the reference. Right? We're getting in the habit of posting our reference images, right? Getting in that habit of, hey, this is what I used to create this. Let me go to my Discord. So copy, and then I'll paste it here. So this is my reference a little bit. So I'm going to just scale it down so people can see that I did do what the instructor asked me to do. So let me just put this guy in the corner like that. All right. So now we can file, export it. You can either quick export it as a PNG, or you can do export as, and then make it a JPEG, highest quality, export, and then I'm going to export it to my file, my renders. I'm going to do my name, boom, sculpting. Right. Save that there. Now that I've got that, I can upload this to my chat as my assignment. All right. Boom. Oops, I messed up. I didn't see that this had gone over. So now I need to come back and let's actually fix this. Make sure they're centered. Bring them in like so. Then file, export. Export as. Boom. Let's replace this. And then I'm going to delete this one from my delete this message and then upload our new one. All right. So that is essentially what you guys are responsible for. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for me?
Good, thank you.
All righty. All right. Well, that is the assignment. Thank you guys for coming today. I really appreciate you guys pulling up. And yeah, I will post these up for you guys to check out pretty soon.
Thank you.
We'll be next time, sir.